Hi guys, welcome back to the Bluestone Villa. Today's video is going to be a garden tour. I thought this was the perfect opportunity to take you on a little tour around our country cottage garden in the middle of a town. You've obviously seen the inside of our house. If not, I'll link to our mid-renovation tour. So you'll also have to forgive us slightly for the garden space. We have done a fair bit to it since we moved here. It was really overgrown. Imagine the last people that lived here actually moved out in December 2017, but we didn't complete on the property until the end of March 2019. So it went quite a long time without being tended to. So we have done a lot of tidying up, but it's by no stretch of the imagination finished. We haven't really planned it properly or anything, but I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you the space as it is now, at least kind of tidied. There's some projects that we're midway through, so I can chat you through some of those. But most of all, I'm just really excited to share our garden space in general. We absolutely love the garden. It was one of the selling factors for this house. It's a decent size. We are in the middle of a town, but it's so super quiet. So many of our friends and family that come and see us here always comment on how lucky we are that it's so quiet, yet we're still in like the hubbub of everything. And most importantly, there is one section of the garden that I think is a little bit more elusive. I like to think of it as kind of our secret garden. It's a little bit hidden away and you don't expect it when you come into the property. And yeah, I'll just be able to talk through some of our plans that we have for the space. We're actually thinking this autumn that we are going to plan out our garden properly. But yeah, I'm going to quit chatting indoors here and take you outside and show you around our outside space. So this is what the garden looks like if you are stood towards the front of the property looking back. Most of our garden stretches out to the side here. You'll have to forgive some of the building supplies that are in a couple of the shots. We are actually currently working on a DIY patio project. This here is the patio that was in place when we got here. It comes off of the side of our property and you can access it from the back door. It's quite a mess out here at the moment. There's a lot of weeds, a lot of random pots that we haven't kind of styled up yet. And it's a space that we don't generally use a lot at the moment, apart from barbecuing. I'm actually working on a bit of a glow up of this space on a budget. We don't plan to slab it currently because we don't really know what our bigger plans are for the house yet, but we do want to make it a more usable space for us to sit and eat evening meals in the summer. This apple tree is kind of our central point of the garden. It's very much the focus and what your eye is drawn to the most. I love that we've got a really established apple tree here. It's a wonderful place to shelter from the sun when it's a little bit too warm, and I'm also really looking forward to using all the produce this autumn. We also have a little patio space that we are currently building at the back here. So this is our DIY patio, and I love that it's kind of hidden amongst the trees there. There's something about the apple tree that kind of makes me think of the folk of the faraway tree. It feels a little bit enchanted with kind of the barked area beneath it as well. In the spring, we actually have wild garlic growing in this area, and in another part of the garden, we have lots of wild bluebells. So we plan to also plant some bulbs up for bluebells underneath the tree as well. I just think that will make it even more magical. I'd love to also add some kind of hanging lights to this tree or some twinkly lights. I just think it would really add to the atmosphere even more so. The space actually between the tree and the bush to the left, we actually had a pond in here when we first moved in. It was one of the things we first got rid of that first weekend that we moved in, purely because it wasn't in a very good state. But equally, we have a really young niece and also know that we wouldn't feel safe with a pond being there if we were to start our own family as well. And here's the reveal of our secret section of the garden. So our garden actually loops around behind our house as well, and you can't see that when you first enter the space. So it's definitely a hidden little nook for now. It was a little bit more hidden before, but we've recently taken out quite a large bush, which has exposed it a little more. This back fence here, you can tell, I'm sure, we haven't paid a lot of attention to as of yet. So it's currently sporting a lot of the extra soil that we took out from our DIY patio. We have some damson trees back here, and I'd really love to plant some other kind of fruit trees at the back. And of course, kind of create a more solid border and plant up some more shrubs there as well. We're currently growing some vegetables as well, just a small selection of tomatoes, spring onions, chilies and cucumbers, and we've also managed to propagate our acer as well, which James is very impressed by. There's an old chimney pot that we found in the garden just there, we assume from our roof. I plan to get a little pot to pop into there and maybe grow some heather or lavender from there and place that on the patio by the back door as well. And this is our darling little children's playhouse. It's a wooden playhouse. It was actually left here when we purchased the property. A future project will be to give this a fresh lick of paint and make this much prettier space. I love that this hidden part of our garden has a garden wall. It just gives that kind of walled garden effect. The sleepers are actually from the front of the property, so they were used to border off some borders on the driveway, which we've since removed. So we have repurposed those here. At the moment, we've got this lovely wisteria that I bought a couple of years ago that's really thriving in this space, and just some lavender and a rose bush. I really want to create really full English cottage country garden borders in here, and I think we've acquired another wisteria actually over in this corner here. It's grown back really quite aggressively, so I think it was quite an established wisteria, so I'm really excited that we'll possibly have two here and they'll be able to grow against the wall. I also really want to add in some beautiful mirrors on the wall and again create quite an enchanted little space over here. This is probably the most unloved space of the garden. It's completely untouched. There's still a lot of excess soil, some old sleepers, and also a chestnut tree growing quite aggressively. We do have this beautiful rose of Sharon plant, which I believe is a type of hibiscus plant. I think we plan to put either a little water feature here or a little bench to enjoy this space once it is finished. This space here, we've actually just taken a bush down and we plan to take the bush behind it down as well. So it looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but we plan to replace it with an archway and grow some roses across that archway just to open up the space a little more. Partly because underneath there, you can't see from this angle at the moment because of all of the mess, but there is a hidden little pathway. I have no idea how old it is. It might not even be that old, but again, it's one of those little magical features that I really want to preserve. Here it is from the other angle. It needs a little bit of a tidy up, as I've just said, but it's like a pretty little woodland walk and it connects that back space of the garden with the patio from the side of the house. And this is the area that all of the bluebells grow, as I mentioned. And that's it for our garden as it currently stands. I do have a few videos coming up that will be focusing on the garden area, DIY projects, and making more of the space. So if that is something that you'd like to stick around for, then please do hit subscribe and also give us a follow over on Instagram at the Bluestone Villa. See you next week.